Okay, Genesis 23, guys. We just finished 22. That is the pinnacle, really, chapter as you go through Abraham's life. It's the greatest ask God can ever make, and that is, give me your prized, greatest desire in this world. Give me your son. Are you willing to still follow me and trust me and give me what's most precious to you? It's a hard chapter. Remember the one thing we talked about last week? The one thing that seemed to be missing in this chapter that was just, it seems odd as you read it. It's the most emotional chapter of your entire Bible, probably outside of the very death of our Lord. What do we say seemed to be missing? Emotion. Prior to that, you see a lot of emotion described in Abraham's life, but suddenly you get in this chapter and it just kind of walks through the event. And other than that, Abraham loved his son, his only son. That's it. There's no real sense of any emotional words from any characters in that chapter. And we kind of walked through and talked through that, about why that was. And that lesson should be online if you want to go back and watch it if you missed it last week. We now get to chapter 23, and you're going to see some emotion. You see right off the bat, now Sarah lived 127 years. Which means now Abram is how old? He's a decade older. He's 137 years old. They met. We see them together in Genesis 12 when God calls Abram. Abram is 75 years old. They were likely together prior to that. So you're talking about a union that was anywhere between 80 to 100 years. 80 to 100 years. It's a long time to be with someone that you experience more than just a marriage. I mean, you're experiencing God's promises together. You're experiencing failure together. You're experiencing hardship and doubt together. You're experiencing blessing together. A lot of life in 80 to 100 years together. I've got this feed I love in terms of just a kind of a grandfatherly pastoral teacher. I love Chuck Swindoll. Just something about Swindoll's style, his voice. He's a teacher. He is a man full of grace and truth. And he's still on my feed, on my social media. And I got this. He does these videos now. I love that the guy's, I think he's 92 years old. And he's still doing podcasts, and he's still doing interviews, and he's just still teaching. And he recently told this story about how he and his wife went to a restaurant in Frisco. And they said, is this a special occasion? And he said, well, actually it is. It's our 70th wedding anniversary. And he went on about how this entire restaurant, all the staff, they couldn't believe it. They said, we never see this. And he said, this is the way it's supposed to be. And he just begins to talk about that. Here, Abraham and Sarah are probably, 80 to 100 years together. And you're going to see some grief. So she's 127. These were all the years of her life. Sarah died in Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham went in to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. And one of the things, I made a note here when I saw that, and that is that faith honors grief. That this idea that somehow, if you have faith and you're walking with God and you know His promises and God is in control of everything, that somehow that should keep emotion in check. That somehow, because I know where they are, I shouldn't really be grieving that badly. And there's people sometimes that feel that way. They feel like to show grief is to show a lack of holding on to God and holding on to just His trust and His promises. And there's nothing farther from the truth on that. That the person of faith should grieve and should weep deeply after loss. Because that loss is meant to do something to us. You guys ever had somebody, you ever met somebody that the loss itself had such an impact in getting you to reset your eyes on things? You ever had that happen? You ever seen that? That loss made you look upward in a different way than before. Like one day I was living a certain way, and then with this loss, now I'm living in a different way. Loss has a way of just reordering our life, reordering priorities, and what this life is really meant to be all about. And God got Abraham's attention way before this. I mean, he got him to the point where his faith was so strong, he's willing to give his son, his only son, his son whom he loved. He got him that far. Now he's lost Ishmael, he's lost Sarah, and now he loses Isaac, in a sense, and now he loses Sarah. Right? Abraham is learning to live lightly in this world. That we are just sojourners. We're not citizens of this world. And because you just lose. There's that one of my favorite scenes. It's in Rocky. It's one of the scenes where, remember Mickey? He's in the ring with Rocky, and he says, kid, you just start losing things in life. When you get to my age, you just start losing stuff. And you finally just start saying to yourself, what the hell am I even doing here anymore? And he goes, but you, kid, you give me reason to live. Remember that? Come on, it's great. He goes, you give me reason to live. Yeah, yeah, killed me, Mick. And you remember that? It was that really great scene. I think it was an uncut scene because it wasn't in the original. I think it's one of those scenes that was left out and it shouldn't have been. And Mickey reaches in his pocket and he gives Rocky something. Remember what he gives him? He gives him the cufflink. And it was Rocky Marciano's cufflink. He says, this here is the most valuable thing, most important thing in my life is Rocky Marciano's cufflink. And he hands it to Rocky. And Rocky's like, oh, Mickey. He goes, no, it's yours. And he's like, what happened to the other one? It's funny, in Rocky, I was watching a little interview with them, and they were talking about how many out-of-the-script lines that Rocky just would throw in there. And there's really, really funny lines. And anyway, so Mickey says, I want you to hold on to this cufflink. And every time, every time you go down and you're on the ground, I want you just to remember, like there's this voice whispering in your ear. Get up, you son of a... Remember that? I want to say it so bad. Didn't I? Shouldn't say it though, should you? So, what's my point? I have no idea what my point is on that. I like Rocky. I could tell Rocky stories all day long. He had emotion. He had emotion. Yeah, something like that. So, when you see the passing of Sarah, right? You have more to. Abraham's faith continues to be refined, right? He travels lightly in this world. You just lose stuff. People pass, people go, and you just keep trucking on, right? You know, people used to always ask the question, if you could live to be 120, would you want it, right? And it's always interesting to see how people answer the question. Some people say, well, it depends how healthy I would be. Right? Obviously, that would be part of it. But how many of you, if you could live healthy, would live to 120? Anybody here want 120? Yeah. Yeah, it's a commitment to experiencing something, though, right? What is that a commitment to experiencing? The death of everyone you love. Yeah. Right, that's the commitment. I would be willing to live to 120 to watch all of my kids die, watch everyone close to me die, and just to keep journeying through this life, building new relationships and having grandchildren and these kinds of things possibly, right? But really it's an acceptance of loss in life. That's what longevity is a commitment to. It's an acceptance to loss. Abraham's going to live 175 years. All right, so he's now going to go, what is that, 127 minus 175, what is that? 48 years? He's going to live 48 more years now.
He's 10 years older. He'll live 37 or 30.
Yeah, you're right. So 38 more years. Yeah, he'll live 38 more years.
But he has 6 more children, I think.
He has...
By another woman.
We're going to get there.
Sorry.
That's right. You're getting to the good stuff. Yeah, that's how you're meant to live life, Paul. All the way to the end. So the first point, though, is he mourns and he weeps. He mourns and he weeps. When Abraham, verse 3, got up, from the bedside, or from beside his dead wife. So interesting the language he uses, just to reiterate it. He spoke to the Hethites. Some debate, you might have a note in your Bible, are the Hethites the same thing as the Hittites? And most scholars think there might be some relation, but they're not. They're different peoples. The Hittites was a massive civilization of people. The Hethites were simply a kind of a tribal group out of Canaan, just a Canaanite tribal group. And he spoke to the Hethites. He says, I am an alien residing among you. Man, we've got a great New Testament text that corresponds to this, right? Look, go to Hebrews 11 for a second. Go all the way to your right. I just want you to see this. Hebrews 11. The faith chapter, the Hall of Faith. This is a great little passage on perspective. Hebrews 11, beginning in verse 13. He's kind of walking through Abraham and Isaac, and Sarah, and all of this. And he gets to 13. He says, these all died in faith. What does that mean? They all died in faith. What do you think the author is saying here?
They died believing.
Believing. It doesn't say they died perfectly. Were they perfect? Did they make some mistakes? But they died in faith, although they had not received the things that were promised. Interesting. God makes the promise. Remember, we talked about this a few weeks ago, that God gives a promise. God's view of time and fulfillment is different than ours. He gives them a promise. This is what you're going to receive. And in God's mind, the fulfillment of that can happen in your future generations, not just in your own life. So here it makes it very clear. It says, although they had not received the things that were promised, but they saw them from a distance, greeted them, and confessed that they were foreigners and temporary residents, not just in Canaan, where?
The whole earth.
On the earth. That's the perspective. Now, those who say such things make it clear that they are seeking a homeland. In other words, we are all sojourners. We're all seeking a homeland. We're all looking for that place that's where we can finally put our final stake in the ground and say, this is home. This is home. And the earth is meant to give allusions to this. C.S. Lewis talks a lot about this in his writings. Lewis talks about these little signposts in life that are meant to be temporary moments of heaven, temporary experiences of things that only heaven can ultimately fulfill. What are some of those things, by the way? What are some of those things in life that are so good, so wonderful, so beautiful, but they are still temporary and limited, and only heaven can ultimately be the fulfillment of that? What's that? Having a child, having children. That's right, the beauty of that. There's the joy, the celebration of life. It's a wonderful thing. But as all of us know, if you make children your everything, it'll be a sore disappointment, because eventually they go have their own lives. Right? And so it's a beautiful thing. Enjoy it for what it is. This idea of creating a child, there's something that's image bearing, right? In the image of us, we create as God created in his image. What else in this life can be so close to just a piece of heaven, but it's not?
Marriage.
What's that? Marriage. Yeah. Marriage in the right way, seen the right way, with the right perspective. That can be a piece of heaven. 50% today, I think the numbers show 50%, about 48% of marriages don't survive. They're not permanent. They end in divorce. And of the remaining 52%, 80% of those are dubbed unhappy. 80% of what's left, which gives you 20% of 52, which is about 11% of all marriages end up saying, when it's all said and done, man, I'd do it with this person all over again. All right? And there's something about that. That's the modern deal. That's the modern world. I think those numbers would have been different before, right? And the reality is because we see it so differently. Too often we put too much freight on the marriage to provide something it's not meant to provide. Like, what do we try to make marriage provide? Everything. You are you're my destiny. Or as, what was it in Back to the Future? You are my density. So yeah, it's like you're my everything. You're my intimacy. You're my fulfillment. You're my satisfaction. You're my validation. You're my recognition. You're my cheerleader. You're everything. And when you're not, I'm unhappy. I'm unhappy. And the reality is, it's not meant to carry that kind of freight. That structure can't carry it. And so therefore what happens? You create massive disappointments and false expectations, and all of a sudden, this isn't what I thought it was. Now I just kind of endure it. Right? I endure it.
Or I'm out of here.
Or I'm out. And the reality is that when you see marriage for what it's supposed to be, which is what? Chris, you've done a few marriages. What is marriage supposed to be?
I believe marriage is supposed to be the metaphor for what we're going to have with God.
Mm.
You know, you have an ultimate marriage with Christ. We are the bride of Christ. You're supposed to be married to Christ. The
Right.
marriage you have on this earth is the metaphor of what the actuality is that.
100%. When you look at the divine Godhead, and it is Father, Son, Holy Spirit, right? Co-equal in persons, co-equal in nature, and yet there's a unity. There's a perfect unity. When God says, and the two shall become one flesh, there is an ongoing progression. What has to happen if the two of us, not you and me, Paul, but if the two of us are to be one flesh, what has to happen? You have to both die to self and become more like Christ, right? If I keep trying to make you like me and me like you, and we spend all our time trying to make the other person like us, what's that a recipe for?
Disaster.
I tell Stacy all the time, it would be so great if we could both be like me. Life is so free. It's so full of laughs and joy. And she's like, that would be kind of neat, but why can't we both be me and take life seriously and be responsible and plan ahead of time? Right? So you spend all your time trying to get the other person like you, and it is a recipe for disaster until you finally realize, you know what? How about we both just start trying to lay the sword down more often? Let's die to ourselves. Let's become more one, right? See, when you make marriage what it's not meant to be, it can't do what you want it to do. So yeah, marriage is a slice of heaven. It's a piece of two joining together in unity, dying to self, right? It's a holiness movement. What else might be something that in the moment is ecstatic in this world?
Winning.
What's that?
Winning.
Winning. Love that. Tell me about that.
Well, you're a tennis player, play golf. If you win your round, you win the championship, win the tournament.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
I guess. And so draw the analogy to heaven. It is fun to win, by the way, but yeah.
Well, you may have seen the meme. I'm a big baseball fan, so there is a meme that's out there that's the welcoming party. It's a guy that hit the game-winning home run. He rounds third, and he's coming to see all of his teammates cheer him at the plate. So it says, "This is what heaven's going to look like whenever you get there."
It's really good.
Family and friends at your welcoming party.
There you go. Good. Way to wrap that up. That was good. I was wondering, where's he going with this? That's really good. Yeah, man. It's it's when the final act is done. It's the celebration of the victory, right? I think that's great. Hey, even the pleasures of this life, they're pleasures for a reason. They're meant to be enjoyed, right? In the way that God has ordained them to be enjoyed, right? Sex is a wonderful thing. For some of you, a glass of wine is a wonderful thing, right? But can you have disordered loves? Can those things overtake you? Of course they can, right? So there's a lot of things. We are sojourners in this world. We don't live, for this world. And this is what Hebrews says. So keep looking here. I'm an alien residing among you. Give me burial property among you so that I can bury my dead. The Hethites replied to Abraham, listen to us, my Lord. You are a prince of God among us. Wow. This Canaanite group knows who Abraham... How do they know who Abraham is? Look at the deference. How do they know?
His reputation.
Abraham's done some things. He's got a great name. The way he's lived his life, even among those who don't ascribe to the same God that he does. They look at his life and they don't look at him as somebody that they have disdain for. They don't look at him as somebody who is a threat to them. They see Abraham as somebody that is to be esteemed. What does that tell us? What should that tell us, by the way? As we are sojourners in this world, navigating through life with all kinds of peoples around us, what does that mean we should strive for? Good reputation. That our reputation and our character matters. How people view us, right? Doesn't mean I'm going to bend my character and do things I don't want to do in order to appease the world, but it does mean I will live my life in such a way that the world will look at you and say, that is a person who has lived an esteemed and a good life. You know, I've said for many years, the last remaining universal language in the world, right? It's not religion. A lot of division there. Certainly not politics. A lot of division there. The last remaining language, it's really a universal language wherever you go, is truly the idea of character and leadership. That honor is honored everywhere. And courage is honored everywhere. And honesty is honored everywhere. And integrity is valued everywhere. That character and leadership is the universal language of this world. And as believers, right, we are people who should aspire to these things. This is Abraham. He's got a great name. Listen to us, my Lord. You are a prince of God among us. Bury your dead in our finest burial place. None of us will withhold from you his burial place for burying your dead. Verse 7, then Abraham rose and bowed down to the Hittites. Wow. Tell me about that. What's he doing?
He's humbling himself.
Humbling himself. He's showing respect to those who probably believe differently. They probably live differently than him. And he gives them respect. Could that be a great message today? What do you think? People that believe differently, live differently, and are different and all that. Do you think there should be kind of a call for us to act with greater respect to the people around us? What do you think? I think this is a great lesson in leadership right here, for one, that Abraham treats them with great deference. He bows down to the Hittites, the people of the land. He said to them, if you are willing for me to bury my dead, listen to me. Ask Ephron, son of Zohar, on my behalf, to give me the cave of Machpelah that belongs to him. It is at the end of his field. What has Abraham already done?
He's already got a spot picked out.
He's already got it picked out. He's smart. He knew exactly what he wanted. Right? Stephen Covey, the great leadership thinker, wrote his famous book that sold 30 million copies. What was it?
Habits.
Oh, that was Dale Carnegie.
7 habits
7 habits
of highly effective people.
of highly effective people. Remember one of his habits right here? Begin with the end in mind. Know what you want in the beginning. Because if you know what you want in the beginning, then what?
Better chance of getting there.
You got a better chance of getting there because you know what kind of a plan you need to construct to get there, right? Habit 1, be proactive. Take full responsibility for your life. Don't spend any time blaming anything around you. Take full ownership. Be proactive, right? Just saved you $4 of the book right there. You can just give me $4 after the study. Chapter 2, begin with the end in mind. Know what outcome you want in the end. Abraham starts with the end in mind. He's already scoped it out. He's like, I want that cave at the end of the field right there. Oh, who owns that cave? Oh, Ephron owns that, of Zohar. I want Ephron of Zohar's cave. I want his field. Like what he does. Verse 10, Ephron was sitting among the Hittites. So in the hearing of all the Hittites who came to the gate of his city, notice that. What is Ephron's role in the city?
He's a judge.
He's a judge. He's a ruler. He's a high official in the city. Ephron the Hittite answers to Abraham, "No, my Lord, listen to me. I give you the field, and I give you the cave that is in it. I give it to you in the sight of my people. Bury your dead." He's giving them a very gracious offer. Just take it. I so respect you. You have such a great name and reputation. Verse 12. By the way, this, by the way, is the land. This is part of the promised land. This is the first piece of the promised land. And God said, Abram, I'm going to give it to you. Right? What could Abraham have easily said to himself? What kind of a justification / rationalization could Abraham have made right here? Just take it. God promised it. He's told me so many times he's going to give me this land. This must be how he's going to do it. Ephron of Zohar is going to give me his field and give me his cave. And this is what God gave me. So easy to do that. It's not what Abraham does. Verse 12, Abraham bows down to the people of the land. And he says to Ephron, in the hearing of the people of the land. By the way, one of the reasons some scholars believe that Abraham is bowing down is because this is an honor-shame culture. Right? So what's happening here? What potentially could happen if Abraham's not careful?
He can dishonor them.
He dishonors them. They're giving a gift to him. It's a gift. And you're rejecting a gift. Right? That's an act of dishonor. It can be shaming the person who's giving the gift. It's like, Van, you've traveled overseas. Sometimes if they offer you something to eat, do you eat it?
Yeah.
You should. To not eat it could be offensive sometimes, right?
Chicken feet in China.
Chicken feet in China, right. And those toes never tasted so good. Yeah, you eat what's set before you. It's a cultural custom. And to not eat it would be a sign of dishonor, disrespect, right? So there's a sense where Abraham is smart. He doesn't want any contention with these people at all. He's earned a good reputation, so he is being as respectful and deferential as he can. He humbles himself to let them know, I am so grateful for what you're offering me. Thank you for this free offer of the field and the cave. But does Abraham have a line? Does he have a principle that he will not cross? Yes, he does. And here's what he says. He says, listen to me, if you please, let me pay the price of the field. Accept it from me, and let me bury my dead there. He continues to be insistent. Why do you think Abraham so insists on wanting to pay for the very land that God has already promised to give to him? Why do you think Abraham wants to pay for it?
Is it because he didn't want to be holding to them?
One, he doesn't know, he doesn't want to put himself in a position that he's going to jeopardize this field and this land of later on they might say, well, hey, listen, you never really paid for it. You just have no idea in the future. Even when Abraham dies, later, right? He wants a bill of receipt in front of people with witnesses that I paid for this land. That way it can't suddenly just be taken back. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Confirmation of where his family will be dead.
This is going to be a multi-generational burial site. It's serious to Abraham, right? God had promised him land that will last, that will stay with him and his family. So he wants to make sure that he is taking care of the future. Is that, by the way, is that how we should live? An investment in the present towards things that you will never see yourself? Is that a good way to live? Investing in something today that you believe that your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren someday will enjoy the fruits of your labor that you will never see? I mean, Hebrews says they saw it, but they didn't see it. Right? They saw it. By faith, they saw what can be. Yeah.
Is that verse before, and he said to Ephron, in the hearing of the people of the land, is that hearing as in within
so that everybody heard.
Yeah, he wanted people to be witnesses.
Right.
He wanted present-day witnesses to see this isn't a backroom deal.
Yeah.
Because if it was just a backroom deal, what could Ephron potentially say someday?
Yeah. I didn't give you this.
That wasn't the deal.
And there was no money exchanged.
Right. And maybe even if after Abraham passes, Ephron could say, hey, this is the deal we came up with. He said that when he passes, that land comes back to me. Right? He's thinking ahead of time. What kind of a businessman is that, Abraham, by the way? He's shrewd. He's smart, man. He's thinking of contingencies. He's trying to create protections for him and for his future, children. He's smart. And he says, please accept this from me. Verse 14, Ephron answered Abraham and said to him, my Lord, listen to me. Land worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between you and me? Bury your dead. Abraham agreed with Ephron. I read a couple commentaries on this that both said that at this time, it's believed that was too much money. He overcharged for the land. I didn't go do a deeper research on that. I did see a couple places that both said the same thing, that, hey, if you want to pay for this, let's go ahead and pay me a premium. Right? And if that's the case, that's the case. Abraham is not there to bargain. You don't see any negotiation. He doesn't go, hey, listen, I'll give you $350. Right? Why not? Respect. He's already asking them to do. He's already denying their gift. Right? He's going to pay whatever they suggest. He's smart. He's not there to make a deal. He's not there to make money. Right? I'm there simply to achieve an end result, which is what? A resting place, a final resting place for my wife, eventually for me, and eventually for Isaac and Rebekah, and for Jacob and Leah, right? This is who this is going to be for. So he says, Abraham agreed with Ephron, and Abraham weighed out to Ephron the silver that he had agreed to in the hearing of the Hittites, 400 standard shekels of silver. So Ephron's field at Machpelah near Mamre, the field with its cave and all the trees anywhere within the boundaries of the field, became Abraham's possession. This is the same land, by the way. If you go back to, is it 18:1? Was it 18? The Lord appeared to Abram at the oaks of Mamre. Right? What's significant here? What could you derive from that? This is the place. It's where God comes to Abraham at Mamre. It's in Hebron, right? This is now where he buys the plot. He buys the field. He buys the cave. Right? Abraham is promised the land by God, which he doesn't fully see. The only land he sees is a gravesite. It's really the only thing he gets. What's significant here about this being the location? What do you think? Chris, you got a thought on that?
Well, he builds an altar here. So this is a place where there's a couple of thoughts on this as well. When he enters the land, this is where he builds an altar to the Lord. And a lot of theologians actually believe that this is a reclaiming of a previous altar to a pagan god. So a lot of theologians believe that when he came into the land, he established Yahweh is over this land. This is land for Yahweh. And so he has an altar here. This is a place where he's met God. God has spoke to him here, given him promises here. And so this is kind of a special place. And so that's what makes me think that whenever he went in, he had this place in mind. Like when he came into this area, he's like, hey, I'm a sojourner, give me some land. He already knew because he had already made an altar in this area.
Yeah, Abraham, the fact that he picks this spot out, we're not told why specifically. You have to kind of speculate a little bit about why did he pick this particular spot out in this location. Obviously, I think what Chris said, it could very well be true. What we do know in the text is that this is also a place that you see is where Sarah was also given the promise. And where she did what when she heard the promise? She laughs. It's the place, so in Hebrew, there's always these kind of humorous, coincidental things that happen in the same place, like it's probably within eyeshot of where Sarah laughs when she hears the promise of God, is the same place where Sarah finds the fulfillment of God's promise. And it's the same place where then Sarah is buried and is in rests at the end of her days. And in a sense, that is what life is. Life is about doubting, questioning, and confusion, all the way to trusting and believing. Is that true? And then through that process, eventually we rest. We die in faith, in the trust, in the promises of what God has told us, right? This is, and I think in one sense, that's the significance here. That, Chad, all that you're going through in your own life, all the things you've gone through, God, how are you going to show up? Right? You ever wonder that sometimes? Is this ever going to work out? When's this going to be done, right? All of us, in our own ways, in different domains, have had those big question marks in life of how is God going to do this, right? And sometimes we might laugh, sometimes we might scoff, like Sarah scoffed a little bit. We just don't know. But there is a day of promise, right? And when these promises in our lives are fulfilled, we are meant now to rest in those, because that is our God. And so she rests. Ultimately, her body is laid to rest in the place where God's final promise was given to her. I think it's beautiful. Like, this is how our life should evolve with time. That me at 56 and me at 26, in one way, are two very different guys. Because I've been able to see more. I've been able to see God come through more. I've had more question marks in my life from 26 to 36. Who was I talking to? I did this video the other day, and I read this book on what decade is the most important decade of a person's life.
The 80s.
And the 1980s? Okay. And it was talking about if you live to 80 years of age, this book was going based on indexes and markers in life that you can actually measure. So it's measurable markers in people's lives. What decade of their life is the singular most important decade of their life? And so I did this video. I was like, I wonder what people say to this. And I did this video and threw it out there. Just fascinating to hear everybody's, questions and thoughts and what they were saying. Most people said the decade you're in. Right? But the research shows it's what?
The 20s.
It's your 20s. It's your 20s. More happens in your 20s that sets up the rest of your life. It's usually where most people get married. It's usually where people have their first child or second child. It's usually where they finally get into their first career. So many things happen in your 20s that set the mark for the rest of your life, right? That was the idea. Not that the rest of your life. So as I was talking to a friend about this yesterday, actually, and I was like, the worst decade of my life was my 30s. It was a train wreck decade for me. It was a train wreck. It was just things burned to the ground in my 30s. And yet, I could make the case that that was my best decade. Right? Because what is it that now I created the conditions to be able to watch over the next 10, 15 years, 20 years? What now do I get to watch? What God does with it all. What can God do with this? This is now gone. This is over. What else could there be? Y'all ever been there, by the way? You go, what's next? I have no idea what's next. And all of a sudden, there's that phone, there's that person you run into at a movie theater. There's that, right? And these things begin to happen, and God begins to open doors and windows, and suddenly you look back and you go, all that fear, all those tears, all that remorse, all that grief, all the energy spent in those emotions. And somehow God just allowed a life to look back in the rearview mirror and go, He was with me. He was with me, right? It's true for you, right? It's true for you. It's true for all of us. So whatever you're going through, that's the story, right, that you have to hold on to and you have to trust. And that is the great benefit of getting older, right, is you have a longer rearview mirror to look in, to watch the faithfulness of God in your life. When you're 23, you only got a few years to look back and go, man, God's faithful. When you're 79, You got a long rear view mirror. And look at you. Healthy, strong. Your son, two greatest son-in-laws you could ever have. At least one. Right? God's good, man. So it becomes Abraham's possession in the sight of the Hittites who came to the gate of his city. 19. After this, Abraham buried his wife Sarah in the cave of the field of Machpelah near Mamre. That is Hebron. I love that. It just lets you know this is where it started. Hebron, in the land of Canaan, the land that God promised. Right? It's a promise fulfilled. Yeah, it might be a little field. Yeah, it might be a grave. It's a cave for a grave. Okay? But that is God's deposit of faith. Just something small. The field with its cave passed from the Hittites to Abraham as burial property. There it is. It's Abraham's. It's secure. It's his. So this is a short story of the burial of Sarah with Sarah with a lot of significance. And it is once again, at the end of the chapter, it is the faithfulness of God fulfilling his promise that this is the beginning of the land being transferred over to Abraham. And it is going to be a generational transference from Abraham all the way through his children. Someday to the point where one will come from this land, right? So that all the nations of the earth someday will be blessed through that one seed, because Abraham was going to have a son, and from that seed, all the nations of the earth will be blessed. Right? All of it, the transference is happening right here, in this point, right? At this juncture of time. Any thoughts? Yep.
Probably insignificant, but in verse 4 and 8, he says he wants a place to bury his dead out of his sight. Does that mean,
In 4 and 8,
yeah,
he says, I'm an alien residing among you. Give me burial property among you so that I can bury my dead. Verse 8,
out of my sight.
he said to them, if you're willing for me to bury my dead, listen to me and ask Ephron, son of Zar, on my behalf. Out of my sight?
He says it in 8. It's there.
He says
Willing I
in
should
verse-
bury my dead out of my sight.
I don't see that in mine. I don't know.
I don't have
Really?
it in mind.
It's in the,
What Bible you read? I won't make a joke. What Bible you read?
ESV.
ESV?
it's in the, yeah, it's in the Hebrew.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, that wasn't in my studies. So any thoughts? Anybody else? Out of my sight? I don't know. I'll get back to you on that one. So, good question.
Well, that's probably nothing. I was just curious.
Yeah, I don't know. Great question. Yep.
I think something's really interesting. If you've never been to Israel, in the last few years before the birth of Christ, Herod built a massive structure over Machpelah that you can still see today, and it's one of the only remaining structures that is completely intact. So it is a massive building, huge building. It's been there for 2,000 years.
Wow.
And you can go see it today. And so it's a highly disputed place. Obviously, the Muslims and the Jews are both kind of fighting over it. But there's, and right over, you can literally go in and stand and look down at the caves that Sarah and Isaac, and they're all buried there. And you walk in and there's an Islamic mosque on one side, one area right there, and then there's a Jewish synagogue right there. And when you walk in, there's Jews and Muslims are both praying and teaching, and it's like this little area where they go in. But what's interesting is that this is one of the few places that they know this is it. Partly because Herod, when he built the site, it was he built it over the specific place that was passed down. They knew
That's awesome, Chris. That's cool. That is one of the things, as you guys know, that makes the Bible so fascinating, is that this is not just mythology. This is history, real events, real time, real people. And it's fascinating to be able to say, yep, here's the piece of land. This is where it is right here. There's a famous Jewish archaeologist named Nelson Gleck. And Gleck used to always say that when he goes out on a dig, he would take his spade and his Old Testament. And if the Bible says this is where it was, and he wasn't even really a Jewish believer. He was just a guy that went on these big digs. And he would say that if the Bible said it's there, I am certain it's there because it's been proved time and time again. So it's a great example there of just the historical veracity of the text. So it's great.
Hey, Walt, this little search that I did, it just says, out of my sight was a functional, respectful, and faith-driven action to dispose of Sarah's body in a proper burial.
Okay.
This phrase indicates the necessary transition from mourning to finality, ensuring she is laid to rest with honor while simultaneously allowing Abraham to legally acquire the land as part of God's promise.
It's great. Thank you, Chad. Is that ChatGPT?
Google.
Google GPT? AI. Hey, Google AI. Thank you, Anthropic, or whoever. All right, let's pray.